Let's get this show on the road, shall we? Actually, kind of wish I still had the sound on for the intro. Kind of unfortunate there. All right, so let's pick up where we left off. All right, now when we just left, we had just embarked and started cutting out a few floors in the stone here. And we'd found out that this floor does have some stone in it, but we would have enough, we think, soil space here to make pasture space. So that would be good because that would save us from having to do something crazy with water that we don't really have because we're going to have to live with just this pond over here until we can get down to the caverns. Now we've got our forges and smelters running, but they're really undefended at the moment. We need to get those indoors. Our carpenter has been working merrily, we hope, to make some bins now that we've got him on task. Yes, yes, good, good. Let's tag a few more on the end here. Let's see if we can't get some folks to use that. Has a wife calling to check on me. Alright, so we've excavated these first couple of floors out, and let's go ahead and get that caverns run started if we haven't already. So we've got down, how far did we go? Just down a bit. Okay, so we're not exactly sure how far down this is going to be required because we're in a mountain and I can't simply adequately predict where it'll bend. So we're going to just dive this thing down, and probably well before that we'll hit, we hope, cavern. But if not, well, it's possible we've either hit a rock column that passes through the caverns uninterrupted, which is possible, or we may have simply not gotten to them yet by virtue of being at high elevation. Now, one trick you can pull, if you're not sure where your ground is in the fog of war, is to take a farm plot, build it out as big as you can get it, and then just run down through the floors with it. Once you come across some solid ground where it can be built, even a small piece, it will change color on you. Now, it's possible this is a large rock pillar. A very large, oh, there it is. See that? We're in midair or in solid rock, we're in midair or in solid rock, and then all at once we found ground. So mark it off. If it's solid all the way down, Z negative 73. We have enough solid ground to do anything we want with. Now let's take a look over here and see if we're well below the level of the magma at this point. So let's go up a little further and see if we can't find something maybe a little closer to the surface. Surely there's something closer. But no, it doesn't look like it. That's solid all the way down there too. And once again, we hit something interesting at around, 83 here. So it's possible that there's a slope in the ground. So let's look at, I believe it was in the top middle-ish, there was a low spot. Let's see here. Yeah, let's look there. Let's see what we find. So we'll probe once again with our little dwarven radar dish here. Okay, so there's caverns there too. And it's probably the case that this is sort of sloping up across multiple levels, so where we hit it might not be the highest point on it. And it's entirely possible that we've missed further up places. But for now, we'll go ahead and let it... Yeah, see that? That ticked at 62 instead of 73. So the caverns themselves are on a grand slope. If you're not embarking in a very flat area, it's very likely that your caverns will slope up and down across biome boundaries and so forth, and you'll end up with them following their own elevations. Sometimes in flat biomes, especially if you've got your cavern size fairly tightly limited, you won't get as much vertical variation. Alright, now none of that's actually super useful to us. What we really are interested in at the end of the day is whether we'll actually hit the caverns before we hit the magma sea. Let's go back to our fortress here. There we go. Make sure our dwarves have mining task under control here. Are you guys doing anything or just sitting on it? What are you doing? No job. Do we not have picks? Did I miss something? Is there not a connection between these two places? Looks like stairs all the way down to me. What am I missing here? Yep, definitely stairs. Did we turn off mining labor for everybody? He's standing there with no job. Did I disable everybody? That's alright, Bishop. Welcome aboard. 37 days. You might not notice day 1, but it's hard to miss all 37. That's right, we turned on wood cutting to clear those trees right away, and we have to re-enable mining. See, it's the little things. That's how Dwarf Fortress gets you. It's the little mistakes that you make along the way, or the things you don't remember you've done, or things you did when you were in a hurry. The search for the perfect fortress will never end. There is no perfect fortress. But we'll try to get you one that's adequate to deploy anywhere. I'll have to double check, but I don't think anybody sent me the effective required amount and a request to be named as one of the starting 7, with one exception. We're hoping to hit the caverns sometime before -73. That's a really tall fortress, for the record. That's a long way down. Moving things from point A to point B would mean a lot of effort if you were building at the top and the bottom of those 2 points. Now, strictly speaking, it's not necessary, but if our fortress is that tall, we won't have any problem getting everything into the stack. No aquifer here, so nothing to slow us down. Let me speak about that for a minute. So I went back and reviewed footage, guys, because you go back and you look at what you did if you want to know how to do it better. And what I should have done when we hit the aquifer initially, and we realized it was going to be aggressive and deep, which it was, is instead of trying to excavate the floors out and then wall them up, I should have dug out just the area around the staircases and put in a temporary wall and just carried on down. Or smooth the wall if it was stone, would have worked just as well. The first few floors, of course, were all dirt, so we had to deal with that. But I shouldn't have tried to dig out the extra space. We don't really have the dwarven labor for it at this point. Now, we probably would have if we'd had this many miners of this skill in the last fort. But it was a bad move, and that really put us behind badly. So don't do that. Learn from my mistake. I do have to hit the caverns. It doesn't matter how deep I go before I hit them. I must find a cavern. We will not get cave moss in our soil layers if we don't hit a cave. So cavern or bust with respect to our gardening. Which reminds me, actually, now that you mention it, did you want one of the starting 7 there, Bishop? Welcome to the madness, Bishop. Welcome to the madness. You probably would have died either to a vampire or a loyalty cascade in the last fortress, for the record. We demonstrated finding a vampire because we got to do it twice to get rid of them all. Supplied a little bridge justice. But in the middle of our second or third year of the fort, for some reason, something went wrong in the... It's all right, man. It's all good. So, in the second or third year of our fortress, something happened in our tiny room. I think somebody got drunk and took a poke at a dwarf, and they loyalty cascaded. Is my best guess. We lost half the fortress in a giant brawl in the middle of the barracks and guild hall. $20 dead and another, I don't know, twice that or nearly hospitalized or injured beyond mobility. Not even sure how many non-work stoppage injuries we had. So popular acclaim was, don't clean it up, start a new one. And I went, okay, yeah, all right, I can do that. So I'll export the save as it was, and maybe somebody can go back in Legends mode, and we'll figure out maybe what happened. But nearest I can figure, somebody took a poke at somebody, the miner retaliated, and that's picked to the brain stuff there. Didn't end well after that. Then it was pretty much on and out. We started having our people fighting our people at some point, so I'm sure it was something that ended up invoking a loyalty cascade if it didn't start that way. Well, it's good to have you back. I'm getting slightly more technically competent, obviously, since I can now run one of these things. Oh, no wonder they're not mining. I'm on pause. Duh. I'm like, come on, guys. What are you waiting on? Me, like usual. Whenever in doubt, don't assume the machine is wrong. There we go. Okay. Now that's a necessity for us because what that will do for us, let's hit enter here, and hey look, a cavern deep underground. So we had discovered 2 caverns right there. I'm guessing all of them are all connected, which makes them, well, a little more dangerous than usual because it means stuff can wander up from the deeper levels into these caves. Ooh, wow. So let's stop all this digging right there, right now. Stop it all. Whoa, whoa, whoa. No more. You have gone deep enough. That's just perfect. We'll just go ahead and get rid of all of that. And then we go back up. Now, it looks like when they made their breach, we were here, and if we go down from here, are we exposed? Yeah. Okay, so they punched a wall when they did this, actually. That's what they've done. They punched down through here and exposed this diagonal, so we're at ground level. Stuff could wander in right fucking now. So, first things first, let's stop all of this shit here. All this digging has to stop, because we want to very carefully think about how we're going to do this. We are going to want to use this as the bottom level because this exposes us, so these 3 up-down staircases have to be dug out and replaced with up staircases, and all of these remaining have to be ups. So, reset them, chunk them out. That's what we got to do. And then we have to replace these with ups. And once that's done, now, nobody should be out in the fort, right? Yeah, you're all inside. Oh, who was that? Is that one of ours? What is that? Vermin, I hope? I hope. Vermin, good. Cave spider. That's good, because that means this web stuff here isn't a giant cave spider lurking to come grab us here in about 2 seconds. That's good. Because, you know, there are alternatives, and they are worse. Okay, so now we've got these 2 dug out, hence you can see the ramps. And this one is dug out, but you're actually looking at the staircase that they actually completed on the lower level, which we don't care about. We're good. Now, we have to build construction up staircase, 2 wide, there, and we'll use whatever is closest. We don't care. And then we get to do it again for the center staircase. And we're hoping that they'll find all the gabbro they need without a problem, but we'll keep an eye on it, because if they don't complete this task fairly quickly, it becomes an issue. And voila! Done. Staircase is reassembled. Now, that means the caverns can't get in. We may make a breach to them, but we'll do it in a more controlled fashion later. This initial breach is purely to get access to cave moss spores. Effectively, in your fortress, before you breach the caverns, this dirt level way up here at the top is sterile. No wild plants grow in it by default. Once you breach the caverns, though, you'll start to see the appearance of cave moss, indicating that this area is now suitable for wild plants, like, effectively, a grass carpet, which we can use to pasture our animals. Having done that, we can now excavate this entire floor out, and we can set this whole area as a pasture, and then later on we can move our animals into it once the moss has established itself. Now, you don't want to move them in right away. You got to give the moss a chance to get growing a little bit before you start moving a bunch of grazers in and trimming it down. Not to mention there's a trample factor, and if they trample it, you can end up with what food is available to them in the pasture space simply not growing fast enough to keep up with the animals you have. Give it a minute to get out in front of them, and the problem will go away. Now, let me look here. So that'll be pasture space, and if we want to do it surface crops, I'll have to look at that option. And then subsurface crops and raw food will be here. Give me a second. Gotta take care of something real fast, guys. Sorry about that. Minor cat attack. As I said in the prior stream, it ain't sexy, but it's effective. Okay, having marked these rooms, I can turn off the inner wall here, and no dwarves can actually reach the designation, so nothing will actually be dug until I'm ready. Let's go back up to the top here. We've got our burrow all dug out, so we've got a space for our dwarves. Let's go ahead and get our pasture spaces dug out. And before we go down that road, let's talk about surface crops, because we were thinking about doing that, weren't we? It looks like we should be able to do that and still have pasture space in here without a problem. Let's go ahead and do that first. And we'll tell the dwarves to go ahead and get all this pasture space dug out. We've got 5 miners of decent skill, and if this is mostly soil, it won't take them very long. It should be fairly quick. And we should probably get just a basic meeting area up indoors, and this will draw all the animals indoors, unfortunately, but we'll have to deal with that. I don't really want the animals in here yet, but for now it's okay. We want to get the dwarves in out of the rain if we can do it. So that is a pasture space, and we'll just put all the dogs and animals and whatnot in there. So they'll try to wander in here, and the dwarves will take them out there, and we'll be good. But that will also encourage the dwarves to stop standing around the wagon and come in out of the rain. Okay, now we were a little fast at doing something, and I wish I hadn't, but I can fix the problem. We excavated this room initially, and we probably shouldn't have initially, because the easiest way to make surface crop farm plots is to dig the areas from above. So realistically, what I should have done is cleared a section of this stockpile, or not haven't done it yet, and then dug out the areas for below and then put the stockpiles in later. But that's okay. We can work with this. Let's give our dwarves a chance to excavate this all out, and we'll talk about how to avoid cave-ins. I did leave them a room to dig out too, didn't I? Yeah, they're going to finish this dig first. Fairly certain that in this case they will tend to finish this room first by virtue of it being smaller, but they will swap off. Which is okay, because it just gives us more dirt room to grow the moss on. Okay, most everything is now indoors. We've got a handful of bars that haven't been brought in yet, and the rest of the stuff is, the gypsum plaster and the sandbags actually need a stockpile for them specifically, so that's why they haven't been brought in. The ash is actually part of the wagon, and there's nowhere to store the gabbro. So we've brought in almost everything of any importance. The anvil as part of the forge is pretty much the only important thing left on the surface. We could get that indoors by setting furniture up on this, and they'll pull the rest in, but that'll also bring all the bins in out of this, and I don't want to mess with that right now. We'll leave that. So let's get our... Oh, that's interesting. I've never seen the number 1 before. I must have done something to that one. Huh. I'm not actually sure what I've done to get that marked that way. Fascinating. I'm not sure what to do about it, and unless it indicates something incredibly horrific about that bin, I'm not sure that it's important enough for us to worry about right now, but interesting. Looks like a big chunk to the northwest here is going to end up being stone, and therefore not suitable as pasture space. So we'll splat a bunch of farmers' workshops and similar stuff down there in order to make best use of that area. There's a little edge over here that's stone, no big. There's going to be some stone down here too. Oh, no, apparently the gems were in soil. Good, good. So this is actually looking like we aimed pretty well for not being able to see what was under us. Still spring. Good. And they'll finish up that last bit of stone there. Okay, so let's dive down here and get them working on the next section. And we're going to end up with a lot of miners here right off the bat, but that's okay. We'll get a guild hall up earlier this time. Okay, so let's assume we're going to do something creative. I like creative. Creative in this case is this will be our entrance level. And we will bring our enemies in across this, a giant bridge. Then we can shoot them from above if we want. I like this idea. Intruders must come through above the volcano. Don't dodge. We can force them into an area full of traps that will cause them to do exactly that, while leaving the wagon able to pass a different direction. Effectively, we can build a large 3-wide floor across most of this area, which, remember, is directly above the magma. Directly. And then break it off in the middle and put a bridge across it. And then we can pull the bridge in to break the channel. To force enemies above it, we can then make a 1-wide hallway log, if you will, that they can walk across. It can be all snaky if we like, to get back to the other side. And enemies who come in will be forced onto the narrow pathway, which we can then line with traps. At that point, they have 2 choices. Tank every trap from start to finish in our little maze, or dodge. Dodging means moving off the space you're on and onto one of 8 spaces around you, or possibly more if we consider the possibility that they dodge further than 1 tile, which they can. But at least 8. And of those 8, only 2 are actually valid and safe. So at that point, they have a 75% chance on their first dodge to immediately take a lava bath. This works on, well, everything that isn't trap avoid. Kobolds could slip through. Certain monsters, demons, and the like could get through. But your average goblin, beak dog, troll, necromancer, or a zombie is not going to make it across that bridge. They are going to take a magma bath, they are going to meet the semi-molten rock at the bottom of the world, and they are going to cease to exist. Plus, how stylish is it to bring your enemies directly in over a magma bath? Alright, so let's talk about what we're going to do to make that work. Now, last time we dug that public space, I said there were a few things I did wrong, and there were. I didn't think about it first, and that was a mistake. You should probably think about these things before you do them. But we're going to assume that we're going to have another floor here that's doing something, craft related, or it's a stockpile or something similar. It's not part of our public space. And that we're going to have a hallway that goes out towards the public space over this way-ish because, well, magma bath, remember? So we could put our public space in, say, above this and put the depot out over this way. We double-check before touching the volcano that the level we're about to come in on is, in fact, above the level of the magma. Above the level of the magma. And then we have to decide whether we actually want to come in directly above the magma or whether we want the bridge to be extended above that. So, for example, 1 story above the magma. That is to say, do we really want to give our enemies the possibility of contemplation for that split second before they actually make contact with the magma or not? My other thinking is if we go higher, we don't run the risk of magma splashes impacting traps which may have non-magma safe components, which is a far greater concern, I think. The magma pipe itself goes up way above the level of the magma, way above the level of the magma, not a problem. So we're going to bring people in above the magma, but they're not going to have the option to just, scale down and climb in the front door. Or rather they will, but good luck to you. Don't miss. So let's see, if we bring that up a couple of floors before it makes contact, and then we bring them out over here. I want this to be far enough down that enemies aren't encouraged, let's call it, to climb down the walls and try to make it in. But at the same time, if they do, I'm not really intending to give them anything because the area out there is not going to be trapped, and this area in here is, well, there's only one way into it, really, unless they climb down on the one side. And if they do, I'm planning to have traps further in to deal with that. So, let's go take this up a floor or two here. Okay, now that means our front door is our proper front door, if you will, is a little close to the edge for my liking, but not the worst I've ever seen. We're fairly central here, so this is off to one edge, but not terrible. And we're not planning to defend that. That's just the opening. They'll descend a ramp to this hallway, proceed down that hallway out to where they drop down another ramp, take a turn, they'll go out across the bridge. We'll have a section here in the middle that is solely composed of bridges that we have to open and close. They'll then have the option, if they're on foot, to go around a longer path that leads back to here. That longer path can then be trapped. Enemies who dodge from those traps will then be faced with the fate of, what is this, 3 stories down? 1, 2, 3. 3 stories and then a magma bath. Which does for just about anything that isn't magma-proof or flying. If it's magma-proof or flying, magma-proof is going to hit the semi-molten rock at the bottom. But flying would still get in. A flying creature could fly right down the volcano pipe and fly into this tunnel. That's not a problem. This is purely our first line of defense. As they enter our volcano lair, we go down, and they'll enter this main hallway. Now, I'm intending to have the depot out fairly far over here. Not all the way to the edge, but out enough that it's away from everything else. Past the depot, we'll narrow the corridor in a couple of ways to make some vision obstructions. And then add the public spaces north of the corridor. The tavern, the temple, the guild hall. And in this case, we're going to do one. One room to bring them all. One room to bind them. One ring. One place where I can lock them all in and forget how to find them, I think. The goal being that no matter what they need to do, public space-wise, tavern visits, temple visits, library visit, it's all right there. Their guild hall is there. Their dining hall is there. Anything they're doing that isn't work-related puts the dwarves in this space. One great hall. At which point we can do everything we can to raise the value of that one room, and in the process, gain ourselves value across many. Unfortunately, this is pretty much the only way I know how to work around the issue dwarves face with travel time when multiplied with the issue that you want to have ample space in each of these areas for things like storage and large gatherings, while still maintaining things like a dance floor. So it'll be a fairly big area by the time we're done. But they'll enter it from above, I think. So we'll put it on the floor below this, directly below here. Well, slightly offset. And then we'll have a staircase that drops down into that room. That room will be, well, the public life of the fortress, I guess is how I would put it. The only room outsiders will ever see, but the only room they'll ever need to see. We'll even train our soldiers there. Since we won't store equipment in the barracks, there's no reason to disallow anything in there from anybody. About the only public space then that remains after that's taken care of are the tavern rooms if we want to provide beds for our visitors. So, seal to allow us to block this off. Depot, public space access, and public space on the lower floor. Traps and defenses and dogs, and then another private room area over here where our main fortress will be passing through. So let's lay that out a little bit. We need to do this as a 15, so we know how big our fortress is going to be out here. Now, the entire purpose of that area there is purely to break up line of sight. In fact, this is actually kind of a negative in a sense because we're creating a loop, and you really don't want to do that. But I like it. It's prettier if we do it this way. I could make this more pathfinding effective by cutting off the northern half of this loop to make it just a U-bend. And at that point, pathfinding would improve because you won't have the extra loop to go through. But ugly, ugly. So nice and symmetrical. We'll do it this way. Now, this room will take a bit to dig out. Oh, in fact, let me fix one other thing here. We want to do that. I like these nice double doors. There's no good reason to do them this way other than pure aesthetics. I just like them. It is, of course, always easier to secure a single door rather than two, and two access points is creating another one of those little loops that has to be explored down both branches, if you will. But it's an incredibly minor pathfinding hit when the loop is this small, and it looks better. You could just make this another corridor, of course. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay, so public space downstairs, and when I say public space, I just basically mean the giant meeting hall of doom. Private space for the fortress, line of sight breaker, doors, statuary, doors, guard dogs, doors, access to the public area, doors, depot. This hallway we fill with traps, weapon traps, the kind that kill things and catch things and make things have a bad day. This area is not intended for public consumption. There should be no reason why anybody other than our dwarves passes these doors, ever. There's nothing for them back here. By segregating our private space and our public space in this fashion, we do have one problem in that we create additional travel time for our dwarves to and from the tavern, as it were. Since this is our dining hall and our tavern, they'll be doing a lot of time to travel here every time they need a drink or whatever. The hope is that since all of the public spaces are in here too, we're hoping that they can kind of meet all these needs all in one go. We hope. We'll find out. Let's find out. If it's an issue and we need additional space, then we can always cloverleaf off of this one north and do another room for whatever cannot be stacked upon one another. We'll just go ahead and cut that out so they don't dig it out for right now. Now let's look at what we've got to do here. So there's a lot of digging in that tunnel, and we don't really want to mess with it if we don't have to. Not yet. Not right now. Not yet. Sorry, guys. Wife brought me home a deviled egg I could not resist. I want them to excavate this from inside. They won't do this initial branch because there's no way for them to reach it yet. Oh, right. Rock. Well, we could just go with surface crops this time. And I think the alternative, of course, is that we're going to end up having to do what we did last time, put a little bunker room here and use that for pasture, and then use this for surface crops and subsurface crops, because we would have to muddy this to make this growable. It's rock. You can't grow on bare rock until you've run water across it once. And our water supplies are, let's call them limited. All right. So what's everybody doing? Digging, sleeping, and storing. Okay, good, good, good. Our farmer will come across and get these plots. Oh, wait. Is that a... Did something grow there? No, I don't have a... Yeah, that's what I thought. If a plant, a proper plant and not cave moss, grows in the middle of your farm plots where they're going to be, you don't actually build a plot on that space. So they would build around that and there'd be a hole in the middle of our farm. There are two ways to get around that right off the top of my head. The first is you designate the plant for picking, and then you set everybody to plant gathering, or set some people to plant gathering so they'll come along and pick the crop. And the other is you build a dirt road over it, which will stomp it out of existence like it never existed. And then once the dirt road is complete, you can immediately build right over the top of that because it doesn't actually comprise an object as such. It simply deletes to the dirt all the objects. Did we get a migrant wave when I wasn't looking? Do we actually have a visitor helping us farm? Am I seeing that? There were two guys here just a minute ago. There are two guys planting. I don't think I have planting labor for two guys. I do not. Hmm. It's got to be a field farming job, so got to be a visitor. Fascinating. Okay, and at the very least, that will get us our initial underground plots. Now, let's go topside. Pull a section out of this. Actually, no, let's think about how we're going to do this first. We are only one floor up, right? Yes. Okay, so we can do that. Well, my first instinct was to mine this out, but then I realized that makes contact with the pond, and this pond is connected by a diagonal, so if we make contact there, we drain our entire pond. We can't do that yet. So that's bad. Can't do that. That means it's time to start thinking about where we're going to put that water. That moment when you have the dig command on and don't realize it. Whoops. So we'll use this area as our hospital. We'll dig our wells here, and I'll get the access to the pond and pump it into this area here, so to speak. So what in the hell am I doing here? Well, I am digging a water access tunnel. We will excavate this out, put a small drawbridge here to close this off so we can let the pond refill naturally without having to worry about that. Seal this up when we're not using it, and when we need it, we simply lower it, drain the pond water into this staircase, which flows down all the way to here, across, back up. We'll have a grate here that will help filter enemies out. It'll flow down this, flow down this hallway, through a pressure regulator, and into our well. This access staircase here will allow not only our dwarves access to the well when they're building it, but later on if somebody falls in, this will be how they get out. Now, this gives us everything except a means to actually drain the well, and we should probably consider that. And so we'll build ourselves a little tongue-shaped drawbridge that sticks off of here. That'll raise and lower and smash the water out of existence as it drains. Now, if you want to drain faster, go wide. Lots of water in, smash it all at once. Lots of water in, smash it all at once. It doesn't matter how fast you smash it as long as you don't care how fast you can drain it. Additionally, the only part that's actually, since this is at the bottom of our well, the only part that will actually matter in terms of flow is when you're draining these last few tiles out. Any water above this that's in the system will actually teleport to where it needs to be. It will actually teleport down to the floor it's supposed to be and then teleport across to the tile it's supposed to occupy. So water coming down from above literally teleports into position. There's no travel time involved. The water on this floor, however, would have to spread out and flow into this area. So a long, thin bridge would take longer to get all the flow flowed, I guess. Okay, so now we've got our well designated. Yay. Temporary segregation, so they only dig out the public space for right now. We really need to focus on getting that up quickly if we can. A place for dwarves to live their lives, in a sense, beyond their work and their bedroom. Now, make no mistake, this is a fairly large public area, and it will take a minute to dig out, which isn't really in our favor in this case, but we have a larger number of miners than I would normally bring, for one thing, and we're going to cheat a little bit by simply using one space for all of them. So instead of digging out 3 or 4 spaces, we're only digging out 1. And I strongly suspect that if you go back and multiply out all the 15 diameter circles I did there, to get those initial public spaces and the square that comprised the tavern, and then compare that total volume to this volume, I think we come out ahead here. Now, unfortunately, I can't really do anything about designating these spaces until I actually have them dug out. So we really are waiting. Oop, who needs water? Oh, we're down to our last few drinks. Okay, so let's talk. We knew this was coming. We just didn't check for it. That was silly, but we can fix it. First off, our carpenter and woodcutter right here, who's doubling as our farmer, don't really have anything else to do right now. So let's put them on plant gathering duty. We can leave these guys on. They should spend their time mining until all the mining is done. That's fine. Since they already have the labor, yay us, we can bring them up here to where the temporary space was and tell them to farm all these plots, or farm all these plants here. So let's just set up our gather order here. And we're going to kind of cheat a little bit. We're going to go up to the surface here on this top floor, and we're going to gather a big area here and go way around our fortress on all sides, yeah? And then we're just going to dive down until we're in the stone a bit and hit enter. And that should mark all of this as gather. Now, we got to be careful because I think they... Oh, no, we're good there. Got to check and make sure they didn't designate... Yeah, I don't think they do the trees here. I'm not sure what that is. What is that tree there? It's an apple tree. Yeah, so we should probably make some step ladders in case some stupid dwarf gets the idea to climb up a tree and then forget how to get back down. And it's more likely than you might think. So getting our carpenter to do a little carpentry before he goes out a plundering would probably be a good thing. Let's do that now. And with some step ladders, I believe we can probably rescue anybody we need to. And I'm hoping they're going to go grab some plants, which is great. We need it. There we go. We've already got some plants. Perfect, perfect. Now, we'll come back down here. We'll build a temporary workshop for brewing. We can use the materials we have here on hand. Is fine. We don't care. This is a temporary place, remember? And we don't want to use our coke, though, because why? Why would you build your workshop out of fuel? Because we could, and because it doesn't burn once we do. Yay! Once we've got 2 of these going, we get our carpenter to make a few barrels right off the bat, and we'll be good. But we also want to go ahead and get a temporary crafts dwarf's workshop to build some rock pots. There's no point waiting. Might as well get one up now, and we can start moving. You'll notice that, in effect, we're slowly creeping into our final fortress. We arrived, everything was in the wagon, we set it up nearby. We creep from that space underground into our storage and temporary area here. We're still digging out the fortress, but as things appear in the fortress where they need to be, we simply pull them out of here and they simply migrate into the final fortress. Eventually this space is left empty, and we no longer require it, at which point we could seal it off, because, frankly, we have no use for it, and it's just eating up pathfinding tiles. This slow progression should allow us to get into where we need to be a little easier. Okay, let's get... we can't put the farmer to work yet. He's busy on crops that are already ready to harvest. Is everybody digging? Oh, of course. And the 2 I told to go do the stuff aren't doing the... Right, okay, never mind. Let them do their thing. We're good. Well, let's spread it out a little more. We tend to usually be pretty plump helmet heavy. No pun intended. Let's spread our alcohol production out a bit more. Oh, silly me, I forgot to set up the stockpiles. That was dumb. Let's fix that too. Okay, so as in the previous stockpile setup, we have one stockpile that takes from anywhere and takes loose seeds, and it gives to a stockpile that takes only from its compatriot, has barrels, and will store the seeds in their final resting place. Now, if we wanted to get really, really fancy, we could do something where we put only the subsurface seeds in one, and then when we build out over here, we could put out another one where we have just, surface crops. But I think we're going to put the surface crops up here, build over this, and extend this staircase up one more floor. That way we can do this out of our way, is my hope. The problem we're going to run into, I suspect, is that our surface is going to be littered with little stone chunks that prohibit growing things, so it'll be obnoxious if we have to do that. We could, let's see, what else could we do? Could always dig a little adjunct right over here and call it good. Let's do that. We'll cheat. Actually, though, probably needs to be the south. I hate it, but it probably needs to be the south. Let me think. And the reason I say that is because this is stone, I'm fairly positive. Yeah. And this is stone, I'm fairly positive. And this line pretty much marks a world tile, would be my guess. You got to figure there's one world tile for this right here, right? For the volcano to occupy one. So there's another one that ends right about there. And this world tile is stone. And the one below it on this level, or the one here on this level, is soil. So it should be the case, we hope, that it's soil out to as far as where these farm plots are. We'll go above this, dig out a chunk here, south of these, so it'll be right here. And we'll have to get a little creative with this, dig it down a level and then dig it down again. And then we'll put the surface crops adjacent to it right here. And we'll have a little chunk missing out of our thing, because then we can use this whole half as pasture space, which I like. We're going to have a fair number of grazers, and we're going to need a fair bit of pasture space, unfortunately. And in most forts, I would have assigned them a full 15 circle to themselves, but here we don't have enough layer of soil to actually get away with that. We could pasture them on the surface, but again, the whole point was to have them pastured indoors and to wall this off at some point, so we pull them in and then we're digging our exit out, right? So it won't take much to actually excavate a little tiny chunk of this off the corner, and then we can dig down from above to make access to it. Okay, let's do that. It'll look a little hinky if you're a perfect symmetry nut, but we're going to do it anyway because it's going to put everything fairly proximate. Let's see, and this would be down one and back one for 10. So we've got to go to there. And then 10 wide is over one and back one to there. So anything from here down has to be dug. So that tree's got to go. Might as well get a couple while we're at it. And then we'll trench this out, and then we'll trench out the final shape in the ground to get down here. Now, we have to be careful with the stuff that's already dug out down here. If we sever off a chunk of this, it can collapse and cave in. Now, it wouldn't go too far down because there's a solid wall here, so it would hit here and explode. But the problem is, when I say explode, I kind of mean that literally. It's a giant cloud of dust and force that expands out as a big shockwave, and it can throw dwarves incredible distances, even if it doesn't kill them outright. Um, Explosion is pretty much the right term. Uh, Even though it's caused by a cave-in. It's the dust and force wave of the explosion when it hits the impact. So we'll have to trim this stockpile back and then carefully prune back the surface one row at a time so as not to run into the issue where we disconnect anything. Cave-ins occur when a section of ground has no connections either up, down, north, east, south, or west. Diagonals do not count. So, if, for example, we were looking at this long stretch of ground right here, if this were ground, this blackened section here, pretend it's all one level for a moment, pretend this is all one floor, this section here would have caved in because it's only connected by a diagonal. This section would be solid because there's a solid orthogonal connection northeast, southwest, up, down, all the way back to the mainland. Doesn't matter how far out it extends. It could be a giant windy maze. As long as the connections are all solid and not diagonals, it's a solid piece of land. This falls in, this falls in, this falls in. If this were all, solid ground. And there'd be cave-in explosions for each chunk that hit the ground. So there'd be a giant shockwave from all of this if this were all disconnected like this at once. It is possible to do cave-ins in a controlled fashion by supporting them with the structure that you then remove later, called a support. You can link the support to a lever so you can do the removal remotely and thereby eliminate any danger to the person doing the removal. Long bridge-like sections like this could be cut off by a miner trenching the entrance here, which would cause this all to be diagonal, at which point the whole thing falls in. But be careful with doing that. If it's too close to where the miner is when it lands, the explosion goes up as well as left, right, and up, it travels up Z levels as well as northeast, west, and south. So if your miner is near to the ground where it hits, the explosion can travel up here and throw the miner deck back down the hallway and kill him. Cave-ins can be used in a controlled fashion to kill certain animals and creatures that are difficult to deal with directly. Things with deadly dust or poisonous spit or which shoot fire and webs could be a problem, for example. And you can always trigger a cave-in on top of those to kill them, no matter what they're made out of. Everything dies to a cave-in. Demons, forgotten beasts, wannabe gods, it doesn't matter. The cave-in is the ultimate equalizer in Dwarf Fortress. It kills everything. Cave-in is one of the prescribed ways to deal with demons in general when you puncture the bottom of the world. But even if you're not, setting up cave-ins, controlled cave-ins that you can predict and use on demand, allows you to deal with creatures that you really can't fight with a military. Alright, so we've got our surface area, we've got our guys clearing our trees. We hope. So we still got the woodcutting labor. Yep, 2 people have the woodcutting labor, so somebody should come along momentarily and do that. Our carpenter may be a bit busy with other things at the moment. I'm hoping our weaponsmith is not. What's he doing? Our weaponsmith is also our planter. He's busy too. So our carpenter will probably finish up with those step ladders first. So our carpenter will probably finish up with those step ladders first. Now that we have some plants on hand, and I think we should have some free barrels, we should be able to brew some plants. What are we missing? Let's tell us here. What are we missing? Unrotten drink-producing plants. So we don't actually have the plants in a stockpile yet. Somebody may be carrying them still or eating them. Let's see. What's fighting there? The troll is fighting. I hope that's in the caverns away from us because we can't deal with that. Oh, yes. The animal men and the trolls are getting along splendidly down in the caverns we sealed back up. And that's why we sealed them back up, because I don't want to deal with animal men, blowgunners, and trolls stampeding my fortress in the 5th season of our, or 5th month of our cave, or of our fortress. That's a little early. If you brought a military with you, it might not be so bad. But for us, that would be bad. All right, what are you doing there, dude? No pickable plants still, huh, guys? Parsnips, leeks. Are we running around in somebody's garden here? Amaranth, spinach. Spinach. Wow, none of this stuff is going to be brewable. I am impressed. Rope reeds are brewable, though. Fisher berries are brewable. There just ain't many of those. Hide root is, I think, dye. But at this point, everybody's probably gathering plants for us, which is just what we want. At least for now. Someone's still digging, though. Yep. They're still clearing it up. Slowly but surely. Now, when we get our first migrant wave, we'll be able to clear this out and make a... and they are going to town down there. Aren't we glad that's not us? I don't mind meeting the neighbors, but if it's going to be over the open field of battle, I'd kind of like to be prepared first.
More migrants.
Ah, our first catch of the day. Nothing super special, but there's a fancy stonecrafter in there. He's probably a vampire. Look at all these novice skills. Look at that high legendary. Starting to think maybe you're a problem, dude. We'll have to take a look at you pretty quick. That means getting a dining room up so we can tell our dwarves to eat in it. All right. Fortunately, we did not get enough miners to go into Guildhall territory, so yay! We're prepared. Okay. Got a engraver is ours. Stonecrafter is ours. So no, they didn't really give us much in the way of a couple of really fabulous doctors. Probably also vampires. Man, I hope he's not a vampire, though. Level 10 critical thinker, level 15 student, level 4 teacher. This guy could be a doctor and a scholar in our... we got found Dr. House here. Alright. But that other guy doesn't have much in the way of social skills. Dr. House there does have a smattering of military in addition to his panoply of fantastic skills there. Alright, so nothing super special. Let's sort them by wave and make them haulers. Now, we do need a doctor, so our best diagnoser is also our best surgeon, so we're actually going to use Libash as our noble doctor, and we'll keep an eye on Udil. We're not sure about him yet. Not sure about Libash either, for that matter. No real military skills. But again, another smattering of social skills. Okay. We got plant gathering? That would have been nice. No? Nobody? Okay, well, we're going to put the miners on mining detail here. Put the new arrivals on berry picking. Okay, so... wow. Plan B. Turn off all the picking in this area. Oh, good. We got some fisher berries going. So somebody's going to pick something. There are some things coming back that are going to be brewable. Yay! I was worried they wouldn't get anything. What's that? What are you? You are a big pile of stuff, including grapes, which can be brewed, and fisher berries, which can be brewed, and grapes, which can be brewed. Okay, good. Fantastic. We will hold off on specializing our starting 7 just yet. We're kind of using them across the board. They're going to end up miners, I think, in the end, but we're going to specialize them down into their jobs here shortly, I think. Just want to get that public area dug out. I know it's big, but I want to get it dug out. And since we have brewables, might as well leave it on them for now. Since we have brewables, let's get people brewing. Let's also take a moment and deal with all of those naughty, naughty, naughty grazers that we brought with us. Every time you arrive, of course, your wagon is pulled by 2 draft animals, and they vary what they are. They could be the same kind, could be different species, could be male and female, could be 2 males, doesn't matter. You get 2 draft animals that come with you, and your choice is then to figure out what you're going to do with them. Um, Typically, I butcher them for their meat. They're not useful to me in any other capacity. I bring my own grazers specifically for what I want, for wool and milk and such, so they're basically meat on the hoof. And right now we could use a little extra meat in our diet. And I don't really care who does at this point. I just want to make sure I have a space to do it and a space to tan the hides that are produced. Okay, and we have a second female, which is more than enough. This little bastard needs to be gelded right now. 2 females is plenty. Any male cat that wanders through will give us more. That's all we really need. If we really have to, we can always order 1 more cat to get the process started again. But for right now, geld that cat. Now, all the other grazers, yak bull, donkey foal, and yak calf are down for a butchering. For eradicating monsters, no, goodbye. For eradicating monsters, no, goodbye. We can deny those petitions. I don't have any intent in letting them live here. We could have kept them around temporarily and used them as monster hunters or defense, but for right now, nah, they can move along, and we've got other things to be moving on. Okay, so what do we got here? Nobody doing stuff nobody's doing. Hauler with nothing to do, hauler with nothing to do. Okay. Troll's still going to town downstairs, and our first batch of drinks is now coming in. So yay, because folks really need those. Now we also need to get... Now that we've done that, let's clear this out. Need to get a few rock mugs together because the dwarves will get unhappy if they don't have mugs to drink with, and we need to fix that problem. let's check in on our little stone crafter there. You can tell with his skill, he is absolutely just going to rip through those jobs, which is fantastic. We have somebody to produce trade goods for us. Let's hope he's not a vampire. We'd like to keep him around a little longer. Now our dwarves will stockpile all of our goodies here for us, but that may leave us with some other stuff that we don't want to be stockpiled, like cartilage and hair and nervous tissues and whatnot. We can leave all that stuff up here on the surface, and I don't care if it's stolen. 3 units of leather, however, we could go ahead and make into quivers real quick if we had a leatherworking workshop. Guess we should probably allow and then go through and remove carefully. So we don't want unprepared fish. We don't want drinks of any sort. We don't want prepared food. We don't want seeds because those all have stockpiles upstairs now. Technically, I don't think we want wax cakes either, but and I don't think we care about any of this stuff. If we have enough of it to matter, then we'll care, but we can hold it here for now and it won't hurt anything. We're not going to have any venom barrels, so the milk is the only thing we'll hold, and that's fine. Lye and milk of lime don't need to be in here, though. Yeah, I think that'll get us okay. Okay. And make sure it has barrels on. Good. This is our prepared food, or our raw food stockpile, which we'll set up to take from this stockpile. And then we will set this stockpile to not do that stuff anymore. And they'll be hauling the stuff out, and it'll go away. And we'll just repeat that process. We'll create a stockpile, we'll haul out the goods, and we just draw this stuff away from this stockpile. Eventually, this stockpile will be empty, and at that point, we can get rid of it. We know that we have stockpiles for everything. Anything that's remaining in here for any reason means that there's something we need to be storing or a stockpile we need to be creating to do that. Now, below this, we'll immediately start throwing up our kitchens, our proper wells. Remember, we didn't have this space initially, and at least I don't think we did. We'll want to make sure we have, and I don't care what they make it out of, because it's just whatever's on site at the moment. We're good. It's fine. And we'll do a kitchen over here, and a kitchen down there. And we'll put those upstairs. So the farmer's workshops, which will do our thread and milking and that kind of stuff, we'll put up here. And that's more than enough of those, I think. We can even give ourselves a stockpile here for those things that we will need to use, at least to the extent that we can, for these workshops. For example, milk can go here because we'll make it to cheese in these workshops. I would like to collect wool, see if we can set wool to come up here, and then we can spin it to thread. If we can collect the plants in a stockpile just a little ways from this and the refuse thread here, we can basically start processing the thread here as well. This all works out in our favor because it's all fairly close by. So literally you'll have down here pigtails because they're a raw plant, and then we'll be processing them directly above. Likewise, we'll borrow some of this space for our querns, where we'll mill our plants. We won't have a millstone. Typically, I don't like moving the water for the millstone. If I'm going to do it, I end up doing it with a dwarven water reactor, and at that point, if you're going to go through all that effort, it's just easier and faster to use a couple of querns and spread the labor out a little bit. It's unlikely we'll be breeding kangaroos or tapirs for their milk, but you could. Dwarven milk does not actually come from dwarves in this case. It is rendered from the purring maggot, which I don't think actually spawns in the current version. I don't think they actually have them. It'd kind of be nice if they put them back. I've never actually had to raise purring maggots. And we kind of have to let the wool just do its thing here, I'm afraid. Some of this stuff that ends up in this stockpile won't be usable, and we'll need to go through it periodically and dump it out. So you'll end up with hairs that can't be woven into thread and therefore can't be cloth. Anything they're not using for thread at some point needs to be pulled out and removed. We'll throw a stockpile right in the middle of our kitchens for large pots and barrels because those are used by the stills for brewing. This gives us a place for all the loose barrels in our fortress to be stored. On the floor below that will be a drinks stockpile. And prepared food below that. Now, long term, we want to have a stockpile near the tavern. Then, ooh, they're done. Now comes the fun part. Okay, so in honor of the religious fuck up that we had to deal with in the last fort, where it took us an issue to figure out that you had to have a non-specific temple to get everybody to work properly. Okay, so I just want to note, in honor of that, this is the steamy tactic of decency. Okay, I want to make sure I added the right things. We have a temple. We have a tavern. We have a library. The three basics we must have in any fortress. And the first temple, the first zone, just in case we have a religious thing going on here, is no particular deity temple. We'll add additional temples in the same space. And you'll notice that all of these areas have, well, only this one for now. I guess we'll see when we add add extras here. But it should be the case that we can add an additional temple zone for each god or denomination we have in our fortress. And thereby So, temple to Athel. Now, I think if we look at our locations... Yeah, see, they share... See the value here? 1045, and it's the same for the new specific deity temple as well. They share the contents. I'm not sure if they share the instrument counts. We may have to store extra instruments to make up for that, but that's okay. We'll have plenty of storage room here. Big dance floor, no problem. 21 by 23 if we don't build any furniture. I'm not sure you can get bigger than that. So at that point, we can do the biggest of dances, the biggest of feasts. Okay, so let's go ahead and get the rest of these temples all set up, because this is annoying, but once it's done, you don't have to deal with it again. So we keep making zones, again, pasted over the same area over and over and over and over again, and each one is a meeting area with a location and a temple. Add temple, and then we go down to the new god, and we'll do that for each one in this list. And we'll have to remember where we leave off, the silvery in this case. And once that whole set is done, the only thing that we have to deal with after that is anybody who comes in and needs the additional god added. So we'll check back periodically. We'll make an empty zone with no meeting attached, no location when we're finally done, to make sure that we can, and in fact we'll have to set up a couple for guild halls too while we're at it, but we don't have to do those yet. I don't think we've had an announcement just yet, have we? Haven't seen one. Of course, I hate them because they are really quiet and they don't announce very hard. Okay. No, not so far. Okay, give me a second here, guys. I'm going to think about this for a minute. So if that's 21 by 23 and all that good stuff, then we can go ahead. Let's go ahead and get the rest of the temples up and we'll think about this some more. For the record, I am totally stealing Karar Drummed Muffin for my next role-playing character. That's a must. Thanks, Dwarf Fortress. You really came through for me on that one. Okay, let's see if we managed to get everybody or not. The silvery Thabos. Oh, we got 2 to Thabos. Must have picked out the wrong one or built 2. That's. Well, let's see. This is Thabos, and I think I like the Cathedral of Oil better. So, unfortunately, their Monastery of Flickers, your flame just went out. Oops, wrong button there. We're going to X you. You're gone. Zap. Okay, so the Silvery Thabos team. Coven of Oil, Blossoming Egg, Steeds, Doctrines. Oil, Blossoming Egg, Steeds, Doctrines, Pearl Stiggle Drummed. Pearl Stiggle Drummed. Diamonds, Aziz, Flickering, Fell, and then no particular. Turquoise of diamonds. Okay, good. Did get them all. Okay, that's everything in here but a guild hall at this point. It's all here. Well, and a dining room, because we're going to do that in here too. This is literally everything our dwarves are going to want to do socially, in a sense, is going to be in this room. This is going to be like their LAN party, if you will, all rolled up in here in one big, nice, tight package. Their dwarf convention. Their Comic-Con and their Gen Con all rolled into one, I guess. That ought to do for now. Okay. Now we need to get things set up so we can build all these things. And that means industries. Drinks. This was going to be prepared food. Don't think we have any furniture built yet. I'm aiming to do it out of glass if I can. I was going to say, do we have miners or not? There we go. Come on, boys. Dig them stones. Oh, look. Is that a... Can't throw him out. Bummer. It would be nice if you could trade with the peddlers. Put that down on my wish list. If they're visiting my fortress, surely they have a few things to sell, right? Just a few. Should be a drink stockpile, just to make sure. Drinks, but not prepared food. And then on the floor below that, prepared food, but not drinks. Now this serves two purposes. One, it gives us additional storage space for both of these, and we'll build up a large number of both. But secondly, it also allows you to see at a glance what your relative stock level is, because you can gauge how full this room is and kind of have an idea of how much stuff you have left, relative to how much the room holds, that is. And another floor, and another one down, another one down. Another one mined to dust. That moment when the guys who are really good at it show up. Guess it doesn't matter if they've already done it. Wasn't really what I had in mind, but that'll work. Down the ramp to there. Okay. No, let's do this out of blocks in a minute. Let's not do it out of raw stone. It'll take a long time to haul all that raw stone. That would be bad. Let's not do that. Okay, let's get ourselves a wood area up and a stockpile for wood up. This was the song I sang on the way to my surgery in the morning. Stone stockpile, wood stockpile here for the wood workshops. Craft stores workshops here. Craft stores occasionally also use wood. Stone here for the masons, the mechanics, the stone crafters. Go down another floor and we'll throw in the jewelers. You know, I'm thinking we won't do. Let's think about that for a minute. So, bracelets, earrings, rings, crowns, scepters, amulets, figurines, toys, and goblets. I believe all of these can be gem studded as well as they can be made out of stone or metal. So, this looks like a good collection of things to put in here. We want to store these in bins. And this side over here is going to be nothing but gems of all types, glass and cut stone and all that good stuff, also in bins. And we'll go down another floor and see how the miners are getting on.
Ugh, I won't do it.
Autumn has arrived.
Applewood logs is just fine by me. I may have to turn off the wood stockpile temporarily because they're doing a lot of wood hauling at the moment. I don't really want them to be doing that just yet. And all we have to do is disable the wood setting, and presto, they stop storing. And then as I go down here, I'll do the same thing for the stone stockpile. I hate to do it, but I will, because I don't want them hauling stone right now yet either. I want them doing the other things. They may do some finished goods hauling if we have some things, but they won't haul too much. Plan B, make some of that leather into bags. Our kitchen worker will do that right now if nobody else will. Welcome back, Essequesa. Do I butcher that every time? I am curious. Yeah, I don't either. You're on your own there. A little French I picked up in high school, and that's about it. In German, I have a few words, and I can tell you beer is good, which is great, except that I don't drink beer, so it doesn't do me any good. Sehr gut. Yeah, yeah. A few words, like I said. And we want to keep the jewelers near the crafts dwarves because ideally they're producing things that need to be stored here and then immediately encrusted with gems, and then we can turn around and go on down a couple levels and we'll be selling them right out the door of the depot. I have to say, guys, I thank you, by the way. doing really well this year. We did. They're bringing us our stuff. And our outpost liaison from the dwarves is an elf. Interesting. I did French from the time I was in grade school through most of the way through high school. Now, of course, we're talking 25 years on. I remember very little of it. I took Latin for a couple of years after that in my junior and senior year for its utility in the sciences. We did do a few of those. Not many, but enough to buy some stuff. Now, this might be one of those situations I mentioned the other day where there's a workshop that's item is used for another workshop, and since that one's not being built, they can't move it from here. Let's make sure that at least temporarily we give some folks the mechanics job so that we can get those workshops built. Now, see, everybody always bags on the elves, I'm telling you. I don't bag on the elves. I don't. If you want to go to war with them, that's cool. I'm not going to tell you you're wrong. But at the same time, I remember the giant desert scorpion fondly. And I'll be honest, the only way you got him was the elves. So we'll order all their cut gems, again with the intent that we'll buy them later and then turn them into trade goods down the line. Wouldn't hurt to pick up a couple of those, and we'll always need more rock nuts. Sometimes they get eaten. Rock nuts are edible. And we will lightly request instruments. We will make a bunch of these ourselves, but it doesn't hurt to have a few, and they may have access to some we don't have. Oh, I have no, like I said, if you look at them and go, oh my god, their weapons are wood, how can we not kill them and take their stuff? Hey, no argument from me, but at least use them for the Mog juice. You know, I don't think I've ever actually seen that in the list. I'll have to look and see what that is. Mog juice. Interesting. Wouldn't hurt to bring some fish. We don't have a lot of access to fish where we're at. Oh, I'm betting Mog juice is from Mog hoppers. What do you bet? Having never seen them in the list, that would explain why I've never seen the other in the list. Ta-da! Sand is good. We'll have to pay for the bags now, unlike we would have during Embark, but that's okay. The bags aren't that much more expensive, and we want the bags too, so that works in our favor. Potash we can make, but it doesn't hurt to have some. Pearl ash is a pain to make, but we can buy it. And that'll do just fine for us, I think. And as... Oh, I should have ordered leather. Oh, well. Didn't think about that. Leather. Should have ordered leather. Oh, well. We'll see what they bring us. If they bring us a bunch of metal bars and gems, that's good. Yeah, we had something happen in the last one. Looked like a loyalty cascade. We ended up with about half our dwarves butchering the other half, and right in the middle of the dining room, so I'm guessing loyalty cascade. Not entirely sure. There were some other visitors and some oddities happened around that time, but the messages vanished so fast from the announcement log I never got to see them. So popular acclaim was we move on, and so we have prepared meals. Cha-ching! Of all the export produce you could possibly have, prepared meals is probably the primary choice. The choicest choice, as it were. Prepared meals are relatively easy to make. They don't require fanciful ingredients. Preparation stacks at every level, meaning that and they multiply based on the number of the ingredients. So a properly prepared roast made from a large number of properly prepared ingredients can have a significantly high value, substantially higher if the materials involved are also higher value. If, say, for example, you're making it out of some fanciful meat like unicorns. I want a unicorn roast. I don't think we can make one here, but I'd really like one, please. I didn't get to have my fun with the mare people, so now I feel kind of jilted, and, I really, really want to take it out on something, and unicorns seem like a good target. None of the rest of these items look like they'd be things I'd want to export. Goblets are okay, but made out of wood means they're next to nothing in terms of value. I can't trade those same goblets to the elves, so I can only trade them on this caravan or to the humans. That's a bummer. Legwear are things I keep. Powders, anvils, sheets. Most of these things are either internal goods or things that aren't worth a whole lot to be sold on. They may not deserve it, but I do. Personally, I think they deserve it too, but, Another kitten. Did we not gild that cat? Did we not? We have not. OMG. No gilding. Oh, you know what occurs to me? That's right. We do have to set the labor if anybody's going to do any gelding, aren't we? That's probably our problem. I started to think, well, don't they need a workshop for that? No, I just think they need to actually have the labor. You'd think they need some place to heat up the tongs. See, and I'm okay bringing a few cats. I'm okay with having an additional reproductive source that I can turn around into small biscuits. That's okay. The extras aren't going to hurt anything. Oh, I must have set one of these to be fertilized and didn't realize it. There we go. I shudder to think how much food my plants would be producing here if I actually fertilized these farm plots. The difference would be just shocking, and it's already enough to drown your fortress. Now we need to assign a broker, or we can't do any trading, so let's do that. Nobody has any skills, so anybody who isn't doing anything is a good candidate. Hi, Ral. Congratulations. You are now the broker. Go forth, young man, and trade. I really should do what I normally do and confiscate the damn caravan, but we're not going to bother with it right now. Trader requested a depot. Good, we're good. Come on, Ral. Get out there where you need to be. Time to disassemble these workshops. All of them have been replicated in the fortress proper. Damn it. Okay, let's clean that up. And before I forget, oh, there's a number of you that keep coming back. Yes, Sequoia came back again this year. You're not the only ones. Fear not. Everybody's welcome. And frankly, I love having you guys back. Don't hesitate to speak up if there's something I'm doing you do differently. I'd always like to hear the different opinion. And we've got to link all these rooms up. No, it would have been disappointingly casualty free. Isn't making Wells' old hat for them at this point, I would hope? Yeah, I'm not looking to create drama on this stream. That's definitely not how we build the fortress. Nope, nope, nope. It might be boring, confess, but the goal being to teach people a safe way to do stuff, it's kind of the point.
Best start digging some more holes in the ground, Olin. We've got company.
All right. I don't know that I've ever actually heard that quote, but it does feel like I've heard that quote before. Whether it's actually a quote or not, I like its truthiness. Pretty sure now, yeah, we're well up. We're going to hit the threshold right there. There's going to be at least enough people to demand a farmers guild and a mining guild, I suspect. Right here. We just got across that threshold. There'll be at least 10 dwarves with all those labors. They will ask. Even after all these years, I still try to page up with the mouse wheel. Ah, you never outgrow all those mistakes. Okay, so no, I don't see him asking for it yet, but soon. Gotta be soon. Let's get the hauler brigade onto their woodcutting roll. Aha! That 0 signifies the number of cats that are male with working balls in our fort. Yeah, I always try to scroll through the pages with the mouse wheel on that screen only, though. Only on the announcements screen. I don't do it anywhere else. I don't page through anything else with anywhere else with the mouse wheel. It's only that screen. You're gonna watch me, and I'll keep resizing it over and over again because that's what the mouse wheel does in my key binding. Oh, that would be bad. It's not like Dwarf Fortress is entirely crash free as it is. Be ashamed to make it worse. All right, so let's undo those. Okay, get them doing that. Get them picking all the plants. Now. Wow, did I not ever set these guys up properly? I must not have. Oh, that's one of our starting 7. That's why. And this is the other one up here. Okay, that's why. thought about that some more. Pretty sure water hauling involves the patient thing that I can't want everybody to do. Um, Furniture hauling and item hauling. Carpenters do make these things. As long as he's making items, he won't be hauling, but he'll haul them away later. Furniture hauling involves installing furniture, and item hauling involves hauling away items. I guess we just need the furniture hauling, technically. It's hauling furniture to its location where you're installing it, not to the stockpile in this case. It's an item when you're hauling it as an item. Like I said, it feels like I've heard that quote before, but I can't remember where I've ever heard it, seen it, read it, whatever. I like it, though, because it's damned if it ain't accurate. So we'll have to give him a minute because we pulled a bunch of folks out of the mining gig. No, I would have remembered the formulation if it had mentioned deep shit. Trust me, that would have stuck in my mind. That's not the formulation I remember originally. I'd have to Google that one, and frankly, it would take me all night, and I'm not really that worried about it. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Doesn't matter if we put your name on it as far as I'm concerned. It's still accurate. And we can turn off all these temporary jobs that we had folks doing. Except for considers craftsmanship to be relatively worthless? Great, you're now a record keeper. Love the menial, become the menial. You got it, baby. Problem solved. Manager doesn't want to do martial stuff. Record keeper doesn't want to pursue a craft. Awesome. Pure chance, not planned. Okay, so now that we've got them, we need to get them an office, and we can start doing job orders. And right here off the hospital complex is a perfect place to do that because it's convenient. Guy with no appraisal skill, bam! Suddenly he's got appraisal skill. Look at that. He can tell the prices of all these items just like that. The way it works is it basically rolls appraisal on all these items, and they've got so many of them that he got enough skill between ours and his. Alright, so this early, I'm looking for a few things I might not be otherwise. So let's see. I don't think guinea cocks actually give you anything when you butcher them. Geese, cat, still female, that's fine. Donkey, turkey, horse. Drinks. Cheese in the making, more drinks. What are we up to? 860? Yeah, probably. What did I buy there? Turned off my beer. I didn't want to do that. Okay, let's go ahead and run down through here. Get a few of these items into the trader's wagon. And that should be fine. Come on, dude. Oh, come on. Seriously? You're not seriously trying to take me for twice my value here. No. We're not doing that. No. That's what I thought. Okay, much better. Now, what else can we get from it? One bag of dimple dye seeds wouldn't hurt. Did he bring any leather with him this time? Yes, he did. So let's get some leather while we can, because he's not going to bring it back next time. Run down through his list just to make sure he doesn't have anything super special we could use, like sunberries or something out of nowhere. Okay, all good there. Cheese sheets and a couple of books. I can't afford the books, unfortunately. We are too poor. Let's view that. What do you got here? What's the description of that? What are you selling here, buddy? Theory that the world removes around the sun? Ha! Preposterous. So this, so Ithra Nation entrance here is writing a book about the art of the mountain halls, and the writing is clear evidence of their compassion. Wow. The mountain halls must be really suffering for art if the writing is clear evidence of compassion. Wow. Well, let's move a few more mugs out here. Fuck off, Norton. Okay, couldn't get everything, but we got what we could. Damn it, I did it again. No, 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 no. Yeah, I had it right the first time. Just in the wrong place. Ah, that's why. Well, come on, guys. Gotta get that dug out before I can do. Oops. Hang on. Don't want you to do that yet. Hold off. Just a little longer on that. Just a little longer. It's gonna be beautiful, but I don't want you to do it yet. There we go. Okay, so the dog picked a fight with the giant flying squirrel, and they are going at one another. Gonna guess and say that's our dog and our giant squirrel. And the giant squirrel goes running. The dog is in hot pursuit. And the dog breaks off the chase. The giant squirrel has evaded its aggressor. Now you can go and fetch the marshal. Okay. This will be the Forge Works. This is where we will breach the volcano. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 levels of magma we can pour into our reservoir. So, speaking of which, that's a good point now that I'm thinking about it. Okay, so here's how this is going to work. Sorry, this needs a bit of explanation, and I have to make sure I do it right, or it's going to screw it up. We're going to have some pockets over here for magma, and the form they'll take is to be determined. We'll get there. But this is our magma intake pipe. This is where the magma will flow in. Now, to make sure that the magma doesn't backflow, we're actually going to have a ramp here that leads up to the next level, and this is where we'll breach the magma. So the magma will flow in, it will flow over a bridge at this point. I'll get to the bridge in a moment, but it'll flow across the bridge, over this open space, and down through this channel here into this lower level. Now, once it does that, it's effectively trapped. Magma doesn't rise up on its own normally outside of things like refilling volcanoes or the magma sea. It won't just suddenly, if you pour magma into a basin, flood up the other side and out the far end. It doesn't work the same way as water. So, in this case, we can passively flow it. If you're really concerned at any point, it's not a big deal to turn around and go and do something like this and add a single pressure regulator across that channel like that. And then maybe go one more out wider just to make sure you get good flow. And then any pressure that comes through here would be regulated anyway. And that's perfectly safe. It looks nice, so why not? But we don't really need it here. Now, the reason I have it going down this ramp from above is so that if we later use the magma for something else like a trap, it doesn't recede out of our forges back into the volcano in order to refill it. Any magma we flow into our chamber is trapped into our chamber. That's all I want. Now, let's go back to that bridge part. Wait a minute. You're going to tap it here, and it's going to flow over a bridge and go into here. Well, wait. Where is everybody going to stand? How are they going to mine all this out and then make this big run? No. We're doing it different. When they mine this out, they're going to come in here. They're going to mine up the ramp. They're going to go over here, and they're going to punch this hole down. And they're going to go down here, and they're going to drill this staircase out and dig this whole tunnel out. And when they do, that's what we're going to use. We will actually go and have our miner come in from below here, come up the staircase, stand on one of the ramps produced by this dig. He'll stand on one of these ramps, and we will actually channel out above us up here. We will dig out these tiles through the ramp, through the bridge. In so doing, the magma will never enter the space where the miner is. Never, ever. That miner will be perfectly safe. The only caveat is that we have to make the bridge out of magma-safe materials so it does not disintegrate. As long as we do that, we can guarantee a perfectly 100% safe tap of the volcano. This works for all purposes. If you are tapping a magma pipe, if you are tapping the magma sea, it does not matter. Now, obviously, keep in mind the refill if you're doing these things. Make sure you're not going to do something that's going to flood up into the fortress and kill you or whatever. Here, we don't have to worry about that. And even if we were concerned, the pressure regulator deals with that problem. Problem solved. So since I'm not 100% sure it won't do it, I can just take the extra precaution and lose nothing in the gain. So now the magma will flow down that pipe then and into some form of reservoirs over here. They won't necessarily be the whole room. We don't need this much space, but we could use it. Remember, we were talking about doing coins in the old fort, and what we were originally going to do is transport small amounts of magma into a few ponds and then sort of rotate jobs around. It was going to be kind of a thing, and I was thinking about it, but I hadn't thought about it all the way through yet. Here, we're on a volcano. We ain't got to screw with any of that. We just pump magma into this big room, lock it in, call it good. So as soon as they've dug this out, we could theoretically just excavate this entire room except for this little thing here. Give them one ramp down to get the other area excavated. That's all we really need. And then have them dig out this entire room, the same as the room above it. And our forges will all be magma heated. It takes a little longer to slow roast it, but it seals in the juices. It's worth it. I will happily take the rough stone bridge in this case because I simply want it to get built, and this stuff is right there. Not yet. First, we have to do the bridge up here, too. Now, a retracting bridge is perfectly fine here because it will seal up the thing just fine. But if you need, if you want something that nobody can get to, then use a raising bridge. Okay, so a bit of explanation is probably in order here. The bridge will raise to this spot and block off the staircase, allowing us to seal off this water channel when we don't want it in use. When we lower the bridge, water will intake through an area we'll dig right here. Our miner will escape onto this ramp and go upstairs. But we'll mine this out. The water will flood into this chamber, fill up this area. This is all underground except for this, and we'll seal that up from above, so it will be underground too. So water won't be lost in this area. But any excess will flow over here to the staircase, down the staircase, through the P-trap, like a U-bend under your sink, come up through a grate, which we don't have in place yet, flood down the hallway, and enter the well, where it will fall to the bottom, fill the chamber level by level on the way up. Now, this might not be enough water to fill the entire well on one go. That's okay. We seal up the bridge. The pond has a chance to refill. Problem solved. We hope. If we're too close, or if we've dug too much tunnel and the bridge can't or the thing can't refill, we might have an issue there. We'll see. But this is a fairly sizable pond, and my hope is that with the rain coming, once this is sealed back up, we will fix that problem. If we don't think that's going to fix the problem, then I'll put a bridge in here that will raise up and seal that. And then we'll ignore this bridge completely. Okay, with the fortification in place and this ramp dug, people can now access this to dig it, but any work inside will be done inside. Now we're actually going to cheat at one point once this is done. We're going to get the bridge installed and linked, and then we're going to build a grate over this. And when we build the grate, we're going to disassemble this fortification and reconstruct it. Because with a grate here to block passage, and a grate here to block passage, and a fortification between the two, and no way into the fortress proper, we should be immune to building destroyers for all intents and purposes, because although they could destroy this, we're going to have a bridge locking it off most of the time, and if the bridge isn't locking it off, the fortification should be, and if the fortification is full of water, then the grate on the far side is in a place that they can't get access to it, and they shouldn't be able to destroy that normally, again. But if something goes wrong and they manage to get through all of that, then we're fucked. But we have several things in place to try and block or obstruct their access that will not prevent the water flow. Alright guys, I'm curious. Do any of you bother with a dedicated architect until you're really wanting to do something fancy? Or do you just generally assign architecture more generally? It occurs to me I could use that as a labor that nobles get. Record keeper and manager, you're not... it's not just water flow, actually. If the fortification is full, that is to say, if it enters 7 of 7, then... Okay, so you do a dedicated architect then. See, I usually don't bother with it. I usually just assign it around. It's useful if you want to have a super pretty well, but if you're really worried about that, you can always rebuild the well after you've had a chance to grind up your architect making supports. It's painful and obnoxious, but doable. You're not a mason. We've got to get you started on your new life, which involves walking the fuck out of here and starting to smooth my floors. So what is it you feel like I'm missing if I don't take an architect right away? What am I missing out on? Okay, that's fair. That's fair. And to be fair, that's about as much as I want to think about architecture usually too. Steward, huh? Okay. All right. Building quality affects a few things. First off, dwarves can admire a beautiful building the same way they can admire a beautiful piece of furniture or a beautiful object. So, a well designed building is something that a dwarf can actually look at, I believe. Beyond that, it does impact fortress value. If you want your well to be top quality, it needs to not only be made of top quality materials, made from top quality craftsmanship, but also then assembled and designed by an architect. Yeah, see, I'm usually okay with remembering to flip on architecture. Sometimes I forget, but usually I'm pretty good. It occurs to me that I could then turn around and not only do architecture on these small subset of people, but also do mechanics, and they're not going to be doing. There's typically not enough mechanism work in my fortress to occupy them full time, and it's going to be very batchy. That's fair. Like I said, I do tend to forget. Forgetting your architect on that first furnace is a real obnoxious thing when you realize you've been sitting there for a month and nobody's doing anything because they're all sitting around looking at you going, "Where's my architect, dude? We can't build a furnace with no architect." I don't know, George. What am I going to do? Okay, so now we will accept the Guildhall petition that just came in because we were paying attention this time. Ha ha. So we need to get some value in this place or we're going to have a problem. Smoothing will help, but it's going to be a slow process. And the fastest way to do that is to get some furniture up and running. None of this furniture has actually been built. It's all just in planning mode. Oh no! Planning mode. Oh no! Planning mode. Let's see here. Start by getting our masons busy. It can if he's the only mason and the only architect, but you're not guaranteed otherwise. Because although the architect, all of the job will then call for a mason, you're not guaranteed it calls for the mason who's standing there. It calls for a mason on the other side of the fortress, you're still waiting. Sometimes it helps. Sometimes it'll call for the mason who just architected it. Now, if you make all your masons architects, then yeah, you'll optimize pretty heavily. The exception would be, again, sometimes the game will decide against you because somebody needs a drink or whatever. But I think it will generally opt for the mason closest if it can. Generally. Now, some buildings made out of wood would not necessarily benefit. You'd have to either do that on your carpenter as well or forego making anything out of wood. Just saying. Glass or whatever the other possibilities are. Okay, let's let them run on that for a second and designate those offices. As soon as they get us a chair in here, we can start working on job orders instead of having to do things in the way we're doing them currently. But I need some masonry to be done before that happens. And the masonry isn't being done as fast because we don't have as many wooden wheelbarrows as we should have. We don't really have a bowyer at the moment, so we will let our carpenter do that to get the workshops up and running. I'm going to let them run for a second while I grab a drink real fast, guys. Give me a moment. real fast, but I'm betting we have not finished all the jobs we gave them yet. No. Well, we're getting through the chairs at least, and if we got all the chairs into this room, then we would have offices. But I'm betting that we went for the dining room tavern first, so we're getting chairs down here. Only the one mason at the moment, that's not going to cut it either. Unfortunately, we don't have anybody else good at it, so we could opt for wooden furniture. Alternate plan. We can throw up several temporary glass workshops to burn up our remaining coke. At the same time, we turn some sand into valuable furniture. Needs masonry. You're a mason now. At least for 10 seconds, long enough to build me some furnaces. Now get up there and lay block. Okay, bring on the glassmaker. He's going to work. And he'll make us some furniture. And his may actually end up being better than the mason's for two reasons. One, he's higher skill, and two, green glass is worth more than most stone. To put together, meaning his furniture is more valuable than the stone furniture we're currently throwing together. But the advantage is the stone furniture is easier to come by without having to have sandbags hauled and all other nonsense. At the same time, long term, we don't want to be relying on stone furniture for most purposes. Green glass is far superior. But the combination room is starting to come together. Tables are being laid, chairs are being placed, furniture value continues to climb. We are now 2/3 of the way to the guild hall we need.
Winter has arrived.
let's talk about what we've got to do. Let's get the depot designated so I don't forget to do that for next time. Do our depot out of bronze bars because we're swag that way. We need to get blocks made so we can build this bridge area over the magma that we keep talking about. We haven't done it yet. We need to get defenses up on our surface area. It's far past time we should have had a bridge that'll close that off. Everything over here now should be underground, I think, but let's double check. Depot. We need to move the stuff out of the depot. And there's some thread and stuff that didn't get moved yet. Bars, it looks like. But nothing super important, I'm betting. Sandbags, some seeds, a book. Good thing it doesn't get ruined by the rain, right? So nothing super important there. We just don't have stockpiles for those things yet. I bet this is all thread here. Yeah, hair and cartilage and hoof from the... So this isn't even stuff we care about. There's some bones, which would be nice to bring in, but aren't essential by any means. Ash logs. Do need to get the anvil placed soon. Soon, soon, soon. Just to make sure that somebody pulls that downstairs, we're going to build a temporary workshop right there, which we can replace with a magma furnace later on. But for right now, we've got one, and that's good. It'll pull the magma. It'll pull the anvil indoors, so nobody forgets about it. The Kias don't come along and steal our anvil and leave us screwed. Okay, so now I think we've got it all. That's everything downstairs except the animals. And like I said, I think there's a couple of bars of bronze here. Some bones. Miscellaneous items. Okay, so, yeah. We'll get a stockpile for that stuff next time. Farmers' workshops are built. Farm plots have been producing. We've seen that already. Raw stockpile's good. Barrels and pots. And food. Prepared food is coming along. Drinks. Are we low on drinks? No, we're good, but we're getting kind of low. We need to make some more. Need to put that on job orders, and that's where we were. Okay, so job orders. Wood, stone, with wheelbarrows. Finished goods, which needs bins. Are we out of bins? No. Okay, so it's marked for bins. We just need more bins. That's work orders. Gems. Empty, empty, empty for expansion. Hospital needs the wells, and we have to finish the wells. Offices, tavern. Okay, so furniture, bridges, magma. Okay. A fair number of things, but they're all going on in different places at once. So we'll pause the game, set them all up, and our dwarves should be able to take care of them in parallel at that point. And we should be able to lock this place down fairly quickly once we get underway. Now, before I go for this evening, does anybody have any questions for me? Things you'd like to ask about? Things, you'd like to see for tomorrow? If we can get a big enough microwave, we may even start up setting up a military. We'll see. Farming, primarily. We will get eggs and meat from our bird turnover. We've got a couple of female cats. We've gelded the males. So any additional reproduction at this point is all biscuits, basically, if you will. Got a few grazers that we'll turn over as well for meat and leather and wool and milk. We'll set up auto butchers so we have a cycling on all these things so we don't have to control the animal population ourselves. Yes. If you want to avoid problems, it will always probably be needed from this point forward. The other way you can get around it, if you really want to avoid setting up the logistics chain necessary to fix the problem, is you stop using seed bags. And I weep for your stockpile space. Oh, seeds don't rot unless they're not in a stockpile, and then I'm not sure. I think they may rot if they're not in a stockpile. They're food, so it's not about whether they're bagged or not. It's only about whether they're in a stockpile or not. I wouldn't store them. I would just take the time and do the stockpiles, guys. You're really not saving yourself all that much headache. You're just creating a bigger headache for yourself down the road. It's 2 seconds to set the one up and link it to the other, and have one take barrels and the other not, and you're done. You never look at it again. It's I would just set the seed stockpile up and never look back. We need to create the problem we're running into here is we have all these seed bags, but we don't have enough barrels to actually store them in. It looks like, or somebody hasn't come along and taken them, picked them up. Or I need to check it and make sure that it's actually set to take from the right stockpile is the other thing. Oh, see, somehow this got turned off. That's what's going on here. The link got turned off for some reason, and I'm not sure why. We definitely want to have it taking from the loose seed stockpile, obviously. That'll fix the problem. They'll come along and drag all the bags into the barrel. But no, food, as long as it's stored in a stockpile, will not rot. Now, there is a caveat. Well, you got to make sure. Does it have the link? Does one have barrels and the other not? You've got to make sure. They both have to be set for seeds. They both have to carry the same seeds. So if you want to do surface plots, you have to do 4 stockpiles and not 2. Or, technically that's not true. You could have 1 seed stockpile that takes all the loose seeds, and then they could feed the other 2, and they could each handle different seeds. That would work. In this case, I know what the problem is. I screwed up and somehow managed to disable the link. So now here, they scoop all the bags up. Now the stockpile spaces are empty. Any loose seeds are going to get rounded up and dragged through this process. See, they just deliver. He's grabbing grabbing a seed from the barrel and planting. I need to get another barrel. We can handle more seeds than we are. Drinks. Need to check on. See, this is all job orders stuff. We're going to have to hit job orders heavy next time. A lot of job orders to set up. And then we're going to have the fortress up and running. I mean, it'll be done. And we're a year in, whereas before we were still digging through Aquifer at this point. It was nightmarish. I really should have done it a different way. It was just not sensible. I wasn't thinking it through. Stop it. Think it through. That's the gist. So, did we get up to... I know we've got... I should probably keep an eye on this for this time, actually, before we do anything silly. Do we have... Almost. Almost! As soon as they get that, that's a good time to knock off, because then I don't have to worry about the value not getting there tomorrow. Because they stopped making tables at 20, and I didn't queue up more jobs right away. Almost. So close. There we go, that's got it. Now they're a guild hall. Now later on they'll ask for a better guild hall. Before they ever ask, I want to have our guild hall rocketed out at 10 grand. But we'll smooth all this floor, and that will add an enormous amount of money value just on its own. Just by smoothing this floor in this giant room. Because there's so much smooth stone. Money, money, money. And then we'll stack on this furniture, and we should be fairly close at that point, I'm thinking. And if not, we'll need to add in some other things, some more furniture that's high quality, maybe make some more glass. But having acquired our guild hall, that should be the case. It should be the case that if you look at all these temples, They all share the same value as our guild hall. So the library gets full count on those. We don't have any instruments yet to check. And that initially seems like an incredibly stupid number of instruments, and it is, but the catch is at the same time, I don't think the boxes in the temples share their instrument counts. So that is to say, it's even stupider when you think I have to build 180 for each of them. But the reason I'm doing it that way is that there are a large quantity of instrument types, and we will need to make enough of them that we can sell off the cheap ones and still have the good ones and still have enough in all the temples in the tavern. We can always turn it back down later. Won't hurt anything. All right, guys, I am going to knock off for this evening. 3 hours and 36 minutes in. Just for the record, we are averaging well above our 3-hour promise we're trying to keep here. 37 days, ladies and gentlemen. I will see you all back here tomorrow night at 7. And if you're not able to make my broadcasts during the month of October and the first week of November, don't forget that we'll be around for the big 24-hour live stream for game day in November. November 6th. All right, guys. Now, before you go tonight, let's see if there's not somebody out there we can't set you fanatics loose on. All right, guys, have a good evening, and I will see you all around.